Driving, an essential skill of our adulthood. The one thing between me and Taco Bell at 3 a.m. But there's one problem. This thing's boring. It's all, don't commit vehicular manslaughter this and listen to traffic laws that. I need a real driver that'll teach me how to drive hands-on.
It's the Sansmain Show!
Hey everyone, and welcome to the Sansmain Show, my new series where I cover the weird, wacky, and wonderful world of games, shows, and other media, whether it be from my childhood, stuff I find at a thrift store, anywhere. Today, we're covering the greatest driving instructor of all time, SpongeBob's Voting Bash for the Wii.
Spongebob! Everyone knows Spongebob. It's just a fact of life that he's an unstoppable force of nature. Since his debut in 1999, this little sponge has dominated TV, movies, fast food toys, bouncy castles. It's only natural the elements would reach the video game market. These games range from absolute bangers to this exists to what the is this? And then there's SpongeBob's Voting Bash, a game that released on the Wii all the way back in 2010.
Compatible with a Wii wheel? Of course it is! It's a hunk of plastic! That's like saying a fork's compatible with your mouth!
So what is SpongeBob's Voting Bash? It's basically Mario Kart. Instead of racing, it's vehicular manslaughter disguised as a driving lesson. The plot, and I use that term loosely, is that Mrs. Puff's boating school has been hijacked by everyone's favorite SpongeBob character, Seymour Scales. You know, the guy that's never appeared once in any episode of SpongeBob ever. And, instead of teaching SpongeBob to drive like a reasonable person, he decides the best way to do it is to cause as much violence as possible. That's my kind of teacher. The game has 9 characters to choose from. You got the normal cast, SpongeBob, Patrick, Squidward, the gang's all here. They even got some lesser used characters like Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy, and even Mrs. Puff. They even got the voice actors to voice the characters. Minus Clancy Brown, I guess he had better things to do, so they just found some random guy that kinda sounded like a pirate and used him instead.
I've never felt such a strange combination of pity and indigestion.
I think I'm gonna go with Mr. Krabs. His indigestion really speaks to me. So, what does Voting Bash actually let you do? Well, there's a few different game modes, which all have one thing in common: legally questionable levels of destruction. This is Destruction Mode, which is exactly what it sounds like. Step 1, smash into other boats. Step 2, collect the parts that fly off and their shattered dreams. And Step 3, question if this game is secretly conditioning children to commit insurance fraud. In some of the tests, you gotta collect a set amount of parts. In others, just place in the top 3. How does this help me drive? I have no clue. But I now know that if I ever get a fender bender, the first thing I should do is immediately loot. Now, if destruction was summoning into boats for parts, recklessness is smashing into boats for the love of the game. Again, smash boats, get points, place the top 3. Tried to ask why SpongeBob's driver ed course involves more violence than Twisted Metal. The mode's called Impairment, and no, this is not a DUI checkpoint, although it sure feels like one. This involves constantly crashing into players until you have way too much blood in your hands. If this game taught me anything, then if you hit people enough times, they stop moving.
Have you ever been involved in a hit and run?
Define hit and run.
Next up, Velocity, the mode that makes this game technically a racing game. Yeah, and a bowl of mayonnaise is technically food. Basically, you have to be both really good at racing and also track till the end. This is where Voting Bash really shines. The high-speed gameplay as well as the ridiculous AI that is so unpredictable that it's hilarious make this the highlight of the game. I just wish they focused more on this instead of the other modes, because this is by far the best part of the game. There are only a handful of maps, and even then, most of them are just simple loops that are horribly designed. I found myself only playing on the shipwreck when I pop in the disc for a few rounds with friends. The branching paths and tight turns work perfectly with the game's surprisingly decent controls to make for a super fun and unique time. And finally, Escape Mode. A wave-based mode where you have to take out enemy boats before they take you out. And this is where the problems of the game really show. Pure chaos. Boats flying in all directions, voice lines layering on top of each other, and the shaky camera make escape impossible to enjoy. And you know what? That's the real issue with this game. In all honesty, Voting Bash holds up pretty well even to this day. The graphics are alright, the controls are fun, and the music is great. But most of the modes are just not fun. If the devs just focused on one racing game with the destruction mechanics of the full game, more time and effort could have gone into the parts of the game that are already really fun, rather than spreading the content so thin across 5 pretty basic modes. Despite these flaws, Voting Bash is still probably my favorite racing game of all time, just due to the absurdity and just the overall feel of the game. It feels wacky, it feels like an old episode of SpongeBob, the ones you'd watch when you were sick at home. If you ever see it for cheap at an old game store, I 100% recommend you getting it. Not only is it a fun, wacky time, but it can even teach you how to drive. And of course, they just had to make a DS port. Not an early 2000s licensed game without a handheld port. What's surprising about it is that, unlike most handheld ports, it's pretty close to the Wii version. As close as they could possibly make it, with all 5 modes being present. The only change is that the physics are completely overhauled, and just feel awful now. One hit and you go flying across the screen and turning is a nightmare. And the controls, which feel less like you're driving a boat and more like you're driving a can of soup.
After hours of playing Boating Bash, I am ready. I've perfected drifting. I've mastered acceleration. I have... Okay, but I know, in my heart, I'm ready. Taco Bell, here I come. Who could have seen this coming? On the bright side, the nurse told me she's never seen someone break their arm in so many places. I think the main takeaway of today is you can never trust Clancy Brown.
3 cheers for feeling sorry for ourselves! Do the Mario! Swing your arms from side to side. Come on, it's time to go! Do the Mario! Take 1 step, and then again, let's do the Mario! All together now! You got it! It's the Mario! Just like that!
Next time on the Sansmain Show. And Bowser wins the award for the amiibo most painful to put in your mouth. The original game had 32 characters, and of course, headlining it was Spyro, everyone's favorite purple dragon from the hit game Crash Purple. And like any truly great story, the villain is a tiny bald man nobody likes.
See you next time!